suspect, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Because there is this unwritten code, like in baseball, right? There's a code when you walk in that says, what you see here, what you do here must stay here.
Right.
Does that mean if you walk into the clubhouse and one of your players is raping an underage girl, you just turn around and don't say shit?
This is going to be all about the Hall of Fame. Everything about the Hall of Fame.
I
know very little about the Hall of Fame other than that there is one. I have no idea of how it actually works.
Do
you?
Actually, I do, but most people have no idea what the Hall of Fame actually is. That's Major League Baseball Hall of Fame.
Right.
The criteria behind it, the people involved,
right,
the voters, the players, the real definition of the Hall of Fame. So I guess we're going to discuss that. And I think right now you should really tell us.
Yeah, I had to get a laptop out here because it's all about the Hall of Fame. Let's get into it. All right, so this is on their website, okay? The Baseball Hall's website. So this is how they're going to define it. They even say the National Baseball Hall of Fame Museum honors those elected and immortalizes them with bronze plaques, blah, blah, blah. Since first election in 1936, the question of who should be included in the hall has been the source of great delight and debate. So they're already admitting on their own website. And this thing goes on about these rule changes. And my first question was like, who actually gets to vote?
People have no idea. It's actually, different sections, of course. The Hall of Fame voters, they come out of, you got the Veterans Committee, you got the beat writers, and now they've modified and changed it over the years. But in general, the general voters right now are beat writers.
That's crazy.
Now let's define beat writers. I don't think people realize that beat writers are the individuals who follow us around in the past, talk about the teams, talk about the players, interview the players,
right?
Talk about baseball, how the games went, but you have to understand this. So a beat writer has a vote on your Hall of Fame future. Can you imagine if a beat writer comes up to you and you're having a bad day and you basically turn him away or turn him down or say, I don't want to talk today? If a beat writer does, in my case, beat writers a lot of times wanted to do personal interviews. They wanted to come to my house. They wanted to follow me around. They wanted all this personal time, of course, because beat writers are writing for a specific magazine and want to get this certain article in due time.
Right.
So if you don't adhere to what these guys want, what's going to happen? They're
no.
not going to like you. They're going to blacklist you.
No, that guy's a dick, and I'm not going to vote for him.
That guy's a dick. That guy's a jerk. So eventually, they have it in the back of their heads to say, you know what? I'm a beat writer. When I eventually get to vote on the Hall of Fame, I'm going to get this guy back.
And so, this is on their website. So you have to have been an active baseball writer for 10 years, and then you get eligible to vote. I mean, this is all I'm reading. It's like that you just got to be a writer for 10 years, and now you vote. And to your point, let's be honest. Like, if you're a beat writer, your job is to come up with catchy content. Like, you know what I mean? You have to create. Like, everyone's like always like,
and the key is, the word is create.
Create content.
Not a lot of times tell the truth.
Yes.
Or tell it how it happens. A lot of times, what you said, create.
What? Yeah, exactly. Like, can you think of like a time in I'm sure there's a million of these. Like, they created a locker room. They took a locker room something and made a story, like a front page story. When you were sitting in there, like, whatever, dude, come on. It was two guys heated after a game, and yet it's like a front page thing.
I could
How
tell
many
you
examples of that.
Well, I could tell you a perfect example.
Okay.
It was the 89 World Series, Game 3, when the earthquake hit.
Ah, okay.
And the third game of the World Series,
I remember watching
earthquake
that on TV.
hit, right?
Yeah.
So everyone's driving home. I'm driving home back with my wife at the time, Esther. She's driving the Porsche. We're almost running out of gas. We pull up to a gas station after waiting for about 45 minutes. The only gas station open for 50, 100 miles. Esther tells me, I'm in a full dress uniform. She says, do not get out of the car because if you get out here, oh my God, we're never going to get out of here. The media's going to hear that you're here. You're going to have to sign autographs.
Wait, hold on. You're still in your uniform?
Full dress uniform
Like
because our locker room, everything.
You had to go.
Because our locker room was basically blacked out. We couldn't go back in. We couldn't change. I was in basic spikes.
That's crazy.
So
you
now
just jump in your car. You're like, I want to get out.
We got to get out of
Yeah.
here. So now,
I don't want the stadium collapsing on my head.
yes, Esther comes out of the car. She starts pouring in gas. All of a sudden, I'm sitting there, and the media spot Esther, spot my car. This is a beat writer now. Comes out, starts talking to Esther. I come out, start talking to the beat writer.
And you knew who they were.
Yes,
they're
just a local. No, they were the
writer?
local San Francisco beat writers at the time.
San Francisco, okay.
Now
Gotcha.
imagine, I talked to this guy, give him a little interview. We got to go, whatever. The next day, headlines, national headlines, says, Jose Canseco, male chauvinist pig, makes his wife pump gas in his car. Talk about twisting
Male
things.
chauvinist pig.
Male chauvinist pig
Come
all over
on.
national news. Not about the earthquake.
Right.
About Jose Canseco being a male chauvinist pig.
Makes
making his
his
wife
wife
pump gas in his car. International news. So that goes to show. Now, imagine these beat writers
Right.
have 10 years experience of dealing with players, trying to create interviews and trying to create stories.
That's right.
And of course, not every player is going to adhere or do all the interviews they want because they want so much of your time. And there's so many beat writers, it's crazy.
And the crazy part about that story is that you're talking pre-internet. So like the
Yes.
ability for you to, number one, my first thing would be like, when did you find out that was written? Like, when did you see it?
It was written that night.
And you saw
next
it?
day? No, next
somebody
day.
call
Well,
you?
obviously it was written that night.
Yeah, but did somebody call you and be like, you know what they
No,
wrote about
next
you?
day you see it in the news, all over the news.
It's on.
You wake up in the morning and boom.
It's
everywhere.
on Sports Center or whatever. It's on the local
Everywhere.
sports, everything.
Everywhere. Remember back then in '88, I was the best player in the world.
Right.
So can you imagine that?
So what is your like response to that at that time? Are you like, is there someone you call and you're like, yo, tell them that's garbage, or you just have to like basically be like, ugh, and
You just suck it up and take
let it all roll.
There's nothing you can do about it. Back then when you're rated one of the best players in the world, the media always wants a piece of you. They want to be with you. The beat writers want constant personal interviews. They want to get that special story.
Right.
And if you don't give it to them, most likely they're going to write their own. I've had a beat writer even tell me, you know, Jose, if you don't do this interview, I'm going to write however I want, and you don't want that. So
Like
there was so much.
threaten you.
Straight up. So there was so much competition to get that different story, to elaborate, blow out of proportion, modify, even lie, to get those ratings for these newspapers. It was crazy.
Did you ever see that writer again after that?
Oh, they disappear. They never come around.
You never
again.
saw that person
They hit
again.
you that one time, then they wait a few weeks, then they'll come back. I mean, I've had beat writers say the weirdest things, and all of a sudden they get thrown out of the clubhouse. I mean, it's crazy. They just come out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because nowadays, if that happened, like you could get on your Instagram and literally just create a video and be like, no, that's not what happened at all.
Right.
Like if you wanted to, but granted, then you're opening up to being like that guy who addresses everything, all the crazy people.
You have more ammunition to fight it today
Yeah.
than you would 20, 30 years ago. Nothing much about it.
But it's also like, see, this was not right. If you did what that guy just did in a normal setting, it's isn't that like libel? Isn't that like blast? Like you're like create like what couldn't you like? I'm not saying like go sue everybody because I don't like that approach either of like whatever. But isn't that grounds to be like, dude, you're making up things like you're lying about
Well,
me.
it's when you
Especially
look at it,
if it goes even farther and says something crazier,
it's the way he viewed the event.
and that's how
And
he
that's
gets
his
away with it?
opinion. So that's the way he viewed it. That was his opinion. Of course, he wanted an incredible story, incredible headline.
Because
so
when
he
you
wrote it that way.
when you write like Jose Canseco makes his wife.
Yeah.
Right?
Male chauvinist pig. Don't forget that one.
I'm literally picture you like with your feet up, right? Like with a Bud Light in your hand, being like, hey, get
On
out
the hood of the car.
Get out
Hey,
and pump
work
that
me.
gas.
Yeah.
Get out and pump that gas.
Yeah,
And she's like, yes, Jose.
So now,
So that guy, in theory, can be like a voter.
yeah. So to continue,
Yeah,
these are the
okay.
people
That's crazy.
that get to vote on your Hall of Fame career. And if you make it to the Hall of Fame or not. So was it 10 voters?
10 years you have to be a
10
writer.
years. Now imagine you have to be a writer. Then you register, and if they pick you, you
Right.
become a Hall of Fame voter. Can you imagine these 10 guys? I know along the way you probably had a run-in with one of them, and I'm sure along the way it wasn't always positive. So imagine that's one of the criteria these guys voting you if they like you or not.
If they like you.
They just like you as a person, right?
Yeah, I mean, would you notice? Would you were guys super aware of that? Were they like, you know what I mean? Was there like two camps, like guys that were like, nah, I don't really care, I'm not gonna play that game, and then guys that were like, I'm gonna be extra like nice to every reporter because I really want, like they're trying to like play that game.
I think today the players are way more educated because of social media.
Yeah.
And I think organizations educate them more on how to handle the media and to say the right things. Back then in the 80s and early 90s,
It was
we
loose.
didn't know. First of all,
Yeah.
the media wasn't as big as it
Correct.
was today. The internet wasn't as big. So today you have to be way more careful.
Right. I mean, and it does feel that way. It feels like there's the like standard like sports script of how to answer questions. Like one game at a time and
Yes, I know. Yeah, I love everybody. One game at a time.
Let
and
me
I'm
hear
doing, they're like fucking robots, and I'm doing the best I can. Right.
Okay, we're gonna put you back in, and it's 1991 right
Right.
now, and I say, hey Jose, you win 3 for 4. You guys won by a couple runs. How'd you feel about the performance?
Yeah, and I hit the ball great. You see the home run I hit? Back then, they're kind of taught to say, yeah, everything with team. Our team did great. You got to give credit to the team.
Right.
No, back then I think it was more individualized. Today I think they take these kids to certain courses to teach them how to handle the media. And it's the funniest thing because you said they're like robots.
Right.
They all say the same thing.
You want it? Yeah. Oh yeah. Do it. No, you're good. You're good. So I'm reading this before we're gonna get this. A total of 425 ballots were cast. So that's 425 writers. No, you're good. 425 writers.
Can you imagine trying to get all these writers to vote on one player,
Right.
and to really put them on the same page to agree on one thing?
Right.
It's a mess. Because let's say you have a guy like a Juan Gonzalez.
Okay. Yeah.
When you look at his stats, he's like a 4 or 5-time MVP, RBI leader, home run leader. How can this guy not be in the Hall of Fame? You've got some voters that vote him in, and other ones say, who is he?
Yeah. That's
the strangest thing I've ever seen.
right. Think about that by generation. Like
Right.
The age of the writers, the teams they cover, the area, small market, big market, all the biases that are built into just whatever, like who you are.
I view it this
Yeah.
way, and I've always said this. The Hall of Fame should be voted on by a computer.
Okay.
Simply a computer. And basically, you type in the numbers and the years in the service, and boom, the computer spits out Hall of Fame or not. There shouldn't be emotions involved. There shouldn't be a human factor involved. There shouldn't be any of that whatsoever. It should be strictly numbers.
What would you set the guidelines at? What would you set the batting average, home runs? Like, how would you do it?
Again, you have a
'Cause
curve.
that gets complicated.
Again, you have a curve because of the era. You're talking about live ball era, dead ball era. You're talking about PED era.
Talk about PED era.
So let's say in the PED era, I think the criteria has to be a little bit higher because you have these juice players. You have the era of players, hitting 50, 60, 70 home runs on a consistent level. So should that 20-year span be a little bit elevated? Should the stats maybe be a little more padded, maybe 10, 50%? Yes, of course.
So you would literally go through almost like analytics and be like, okay, let's just set, because you got to set some kind of benchmark, right? Like you can't
You have to have a curve. You have to have a working.
There's a
yeah.
curve, but there also has to be like, even if you hit, 300-400 home runs, but if you hit 220, I mean, doesn't there have to be a number that takes you out? Or are you going to say raw? There's got to be some raw categories.
Well,
like,
where a player might be weak in one sector, may be strong in another. For example, you have a guy that played 10 years
Right.
and stole 500 bases, but he hit 260. So, I think,
so you might put him in because he crushed that one category.
and how he helped the team too. And you got to look at his overall criteria on how he impacted the game when he was in it.
Okay.
So there's really a lot of numbers being involved here. I would rather involve all the intricate numbers than involve what? Emotions.
Right. Because let me read to you. Can I read
yes,
to you this?
absolutely.
This is from their website. This is about voting. Because my question was like, what's really the criteria? Because you're talking about people voting on this. So this is what it says: voting shall be based upon the player's record, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Playing ability.
What does that mean? Okay.
Good fundamental techniques.
Yeah.
Integrity. That's hilarious.
Now, is that integrity on or off the field?
Correct.
What does that define? Because you could be the greatest player in the world and the biggest asshole off the field.
That's right.
So
that's right. And to your point, if you hit all the numbers, but you're basically like, no, you're one of these guys that's like, I'm here to play baseball. I don't care about the media image. I'm not into it, and I don't want to be into it.
Mike Trout doesn't care about his media image. He makes $42 million a year. He never deals with the media,
right.
And he's rated the best player in the world.
So does he go out? You go, no, he's not in because he wasn't nice.
Exactly.
He
wasn't nice to us. He never gave us our personal interviews. He never promoted the game of baseball. Even though he was rated the best player in the world, won 4 or 5 MVPs, no, he's out.
All right, so I'm going to back up. I'll break these down one at a time. Yeah. Player's record. What does that even mean? What does that even mean?
It's not even defined. Player's record, would it be?
Because what you're talking about is what you just said is let's dig into the numbers and put by era benchmarks that are the starting point of you're in the conversation. Correct?
So a player's record should mean, to me, strict numbers.
It's got to be real numbers.
Real strict numbers.
And
non-emotional.
And And right, like if you're going to be a specialist, fine.
Right.
If you're weaker in other categories, but you dominated certain categories, right. You've got to really dominate those categories. Because
it's so hard to dominate every category. Right. I mean, when you look at that's a Triple Crown player. When was the last one? 15, 20 years ago. Who was it? It'll come to me. But so Triple Crown players that's so hard to come by. It's crazy.
So that's player's record. Okay.
Right.
Playing ability.
What does that mean?
I don't even know what I would say that means.
So you could define it as you have ability, but you don't have the record. You didn't have the ability, but you have the record.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense. You either have the numbers or not.
And ability is almost like potential. Like ability is like, oh, he's got a lot of raw ability, but if you don't do anything with it,
if you don't create numbers, you don't apply it. What good is it?
That doesn't mean it.
So that doesn't make any sense.
That's even more subjective.
Yeah,
that'd be like ability. Okay.
That's almost like the human factor involved.
Correct, and it's talk about injuries. It's like, man, that guy had a lot of ability, but then he really got hurt, and his numbers were really bad.
You know what?
Well, okay, yeah, he had a lot of ability, but
if you can't apply it,
you
just don't have the numbers.
And then this will be okay. Now we get to the good stuff. Integrity.
Okay, but what does that mean? Integrity, the way you play your game, if you have the ability, you have is integrity defined as numbers?
Don't spit on the fans. That's what it's
integrity defined as sign autographs after the game, before the game, right. Say hello to the umpires, be cordial to other players, dress properly.
Right.
What does that really define? What does it mean? And does it mean you have to continue that sort of behavior off the field?
Correct. Integrity. Integrity to what?
To what?
What are we talking about?
Define integrity. Integrity to what? The fans, the game.
You now open a Pandora's box if we're going to talk about integrity. Because now you're going to go down a wormhole and you're going to go, oh, okay. We're going to talk about integrity? Oh, this guy, he plays the game and yes, he has like really good numbers and whatever, but
he won't sign kids' autographs and he raped 2 women.
He cheats on his wife.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
which we were all doing back then.
Which is like,
so nobody has integrity.
Like, how do you, right? That's what I'm saying. And then it's like integrity. And then if you're going to do things like this, I'm sorry, then you got to flip the coin back to the writers. If the writer did any of that same stuff, why do they get to vote? You can't judge. You can't judge and not be judged. Like, you know what I mean?
That part should be taken off. That's why I say computer.
Okay. And here's the next one. Sportsmanship.
Isn't that integrity? Isn't that defined as integrity, meaning sportsmanship?
That's part of it. Yeah.
That's almost
the same
almost kind of like the same.
And sportsmanship is like, I mean, I'm sorry. Now that's like little league stuff. Like good game. Down the line. Like what? Like, okay. I think we, right. Sportsmanship. Okay. Next, character.
It's almost
this
the
is
same.
All the same stuff.
All the same bunched into kind of like, it's so vague, but they're all bunched in together. Basically,
and
they all mean the
lastly,
same.
Contributions to the team or teams on which the player played.
Okay, see, I understand that one.
You do.
That should be part of the
AKA
numbers.
winning them help a championship.
Yes, exactly. So in a computer, you could put that in. Let's say an individual hit 250. He hit so many home runs. He's a borderline player for the Hall of Fame. But then your team in the 10, 15-year span won 6 World Series. Or won 5 championships.
Right.
And you were part of that structure, and you were an everyday player. I'm not talking about, maybe a utility player, so player who's borderline, or a DH, maybe a player who was an everyday player,
Sure,
who was never hurt,
right,
and he contributed to that winning team. I think that puts you over the top.
What about, would you put more emphasis on playoffs and being clutch? Like, would you?
I would not.
You would not.
I would not, because to me that doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
Because not every individual gets the same chance to be in the playoffs or World Series. So why should you give that guy the edge over another player?
I see.
That doesn't make sense. It's really unfair, to be honest
Right.
with you. It's unfair. Like, for example, I believe this is unfair. An individual being given the MVP because he plays on a championship team.
Right.
Example, Gibson.
Yeah.
In the 88 World Series, he had horrible stats. There were probably 5 players that have better stats than him for the MVP, but Kirk Gibson won it. But Kirk Gibson's stats were terrible. But 5 players, stat-wise, destroyed his stats and should have been the MVP. But they gave it to Gibson. Why? Because he was on a championship team? That, to me, is unfair. That doesn't make any sense at all.
Right.
Really.
Because
MVP
there's
is
so
the
many
most
other
valuable
factors.
player.
Right.
What you contributed, what you did. Again, numbers. Yeah.
I mean, that's true. You could be on the worst team. In theory, you should be able to be on the worst team and be MVP.
Okay.
If your contribution and your numbers carried that team by yourself to a point, like you were the most valuable
Let's
player.
put it in perspective. Okay? I'm playing in the National League. I do the 40-40, hit 300 with 125 RBIs. Gibson hits 20 home runs, 260 with 80 RBIs and wins the MVP. Are you serious?
Right.
Does that make any sense?
No.
Does that make any sense?
Does that?
No.
Answer the man. Does that?
Answer me, people. No, right? Right, Graham? It doesn't make any sense. So I think a lot of things should be changed and revamped. And I think they're starting to talk about that more and more, that unless if it's the voting is close, I get it. That's your kind of reason to vote
That's
that
like
way.
your subjective.
It's a good subjective reason
yeah.
to say, okay, I'm going to give it to him.
Right.
But otherwise, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, look, if they've already been using analytics for a long time now. At this point, it's such a part of the game. It's all part of all professional sports. Why wouldn't you apply it at all? It's like, right?
Because when you always got the human factor.
Is it
in
the good
sport,
old boys club or something? Like, what is it that they?
It could be.
They're protecting.
And a lot of times it's who's got the most friends.
Yeah.
Who is looked at to be a better person, not necessarily the better player. Who's done more for the public's eye.
Right.
So I think that sways it, but it won't sway a computer's vote.
That's correct.
A computer's not emotional. It just deals with numbers.
And I mean, it is a weird. I'm trying to wrap my head around this. It's a weird thing that, like, right? I'm a writer. I'm just writing a story, but then I'm like yielding the power of.
You are yielding the power of the pen.
You get to get in or not get in,
and
weird.
You are the vehicle for the public to see a story, to read a story, how you perceive it, and everybody perceives it different. That's the way it is.
When you do you remember, like, because I want to talk about, like, we're gonna go off track and come back on track. All right, this whole sports personality thing, right? I mean, with all the media now, it's crazy. Like, it's crazy. But even if you think back when you were playing, were there like the marquee guys that were like, they think they're like the hot shot, like, well, media guy covering, you know what I mean? Like, where they were almost like they really thought like I'm the guy.
No, and I'll tell you why. Because back then, it seemed like every beat writer was fighting to be different and fighting to be above someone else and fighting for that.
Interesting.
That story that no one could guess.
It's all about the story.
It's all about the story.
So they weren't trying to make themselves like a personality. Or
yeah,
were they?
No, they were at the same time.
They were.
Oh, absolutely. Because back then, you would print a story, and the beat writer's picture would be right next to the story. You don't see that today.
Right.
In the
That's
paper.
True. That's true.
Remember, the internet back then wasn't like it was today.
Yeah, we didn't even have it.
Exactly. So the beat writer's face was right next to the picture.
Right.
And that's how they would get their glory.
And basically, the deal back then is the bigger the paper, the bigger the coverage.
Absolutely.
So the
Listen,
more,
no matter if you
yeah.
had to lie and embellish, blow out of proportion.
You wanted to work your way up
Yes.
from local Oakland A's
Sell
coverage
papers. That's right.
to go to the Bay, go to
That's right.
L.A., New York, and whatever.
And I think everyone starts off as a beat writer, and you have to earn your
Yeah.
way up.
Yeah.
I think that was the lowest way that you really had to do the physical work, get in the clubhouse, ask for interviews.
Did you ever
Really-
see like a reporter like just get like knocked out, like punched or something?
I saw a lot of reporters
You know
get
what I mean?
screamed at, thrown out, almost punched out.
I'm just trying to
yeah.
I'm getting that visual of like
No.
because like it's like anything, right? It's like this isn't even the best analogy, but it's like if you're gonna heckle a comedian on stage, I might tear you down. Like this isn't your world. So I'm imagining like some of my size going up to you with just some like real ball busting question, and you being like, bro, you know what I mean? Like you're heated, like you've had a long whatever, and then this some little dude is all like, yeah.
No, but here's how it works. I've seen this many times. For example, when the thing came out when I was going out with Madonna, remember that?
Yeah.
So I played the series in New York. I hit a couple home runs. I think I won the game with a home run. People are asking the right question. If this guy comes around, Jose, tell me, did you really go out with Madonna? What does your wife think? That question comes out of nowhere because this guy doesn't want the regular interview.
He doesn't want it. He's trying to make his mark.
He's trying to make his mark.
That's right.
Something, so far off the baseball realm, but it's going to put him in the front page.
On the map.
It happens. Back then, it used to happen all the time.
It did all happen all the time.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So you'd be like, oh my God, I'm going to strangle this guy.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. And right, it's like,
or I would get him thrown out. Security, throw this guy. We get him thrown out.
Did you even answer that question when he asked it?
No.
You just said
no. These guys just
no.
because the best time, these beat writers are smart. The heat of the moment after the game, whether you win or lose, your adrenaline's going.
Right.
That's when they attack.
That's when they get you.
That's when they get you. That's when they know they can get the best answers. Really get the most emotions out of you.
Right. And they try to do that thing like where they give me the dirt on the other guy that you play with, and it's like to create all the inner team riffs and all that.
To create friction, confrontation,
and then I go to the other guy and go, Jose said, right,
For example, at one time when Mark McGwire hit the 49 home runs, did the 40-40 whatever, the media right away tried to put us against each other. Like saying,
right, like you were mad that he, right.
Exactly. Like, Jose, are you jealous of McGwire? Are you happy that he's hitting all these home runs? They almost give you these questions that if you don't watch yourself and you're young like I was, you'll say the wrong thing. And then they go to McGwire and say, well, Jose said this.
That's right.
What did he say about that? And boom, now they start.
All in print.
Meanwhile,
the two of you haven't even had a conversation yet.
Yeah.
And it's all in print.
Yeah, now all of a sudden we're going to World War III or whatever.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, where were we? We're
All right,
going to lose track here.
Okay, so back to Hall of Fame. This is I'm looking up the 2020 ballot because you can stay on the ballot now for 10 years. Is the way that after all these there's all these rule changes on the website, but
now what year did that start? The ballot change
2014, I believe.
And I think that's because of the PED issue. I think they're trying to figure out still till today, should we induct these players? I'm pretty sure the reason is that's why they expanded the time frame because as of right now, they don't really know what to do with these players.
Yeah,
the Mark McGwire.
They don't know.
The Sammy.
Well, let me read you a couple of these
The Roger
names.
Clemens, the Bonds. What's going on?
Okay, here are the first names that are on this. Kurt Schilling, Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, that all have been on it in their 8th year, looks like. Schilling, Clemens, Bonds, all right off the top.
Oh, my God. Bonds. Let's start with him.
Let's start with Bonds.
Let me tell you something.
You want to hear his numbers?
No. They are, listen, I can't count that high. His numbers are astronomical.
Astronomical.
You have got to be kidding me. And I believe eventually they will induct him to the Hall of Fame. They'll this man an apology on top of that. Because here's why. He's never been tested positive for the use of PEDs, which to me is the weirdest thing in the world.
That's crazy.
On theory, on hearsay, on opinion, with no evidence, how can you not induct one of the best power hitters, one of the best all-around players this game has ever had, if not the best?
Absolutely.
Are you kidding me?
Absolutely.
Now imagine if you put his numbers in a computer, the computer will blow up.
Right.
The computer will say, I can't compute. The numbers are too high. It doesn't fit here. I cannot compute.
Was that your impression of a computer?
Yeah, I go fucking into smoke because the computer can't count. His numbers are just. Let me tell you something. Players are here, and he's like over there. He's like another planet.
762 home runs.
That's enough. That's all I want to hear. That's enough.
Batting average 298.
That's ungodly.
RBI almost 2,000.
Really?
Hits almost 3,000.
And he can fly on top of that.
Right.
How?
I'm
a joke.
I'm 100% with you. I'll even say even if he tested positive,
but he did not.
He never even.
But he did
They
not.
never got him.
Forget about what reality is. Facts. He never tested positive.
Right.
So how?
You can't, yeah, right. That is nothing more than being blackballed out and then playing that game and going, no, we're just not. It's like, what is the debate?
That's why the human factor can't be involved in this.
Yeah, that's
crazy. Why. Let's talk about Roger Clemens.
Roger Clemens.
Again, how many Cy Youngs? 6 or 7? How many appearances in the World Series playoff?
354 wins. ERA 3.12.
I mean, you got to be kidding me.
That's ridiculous.
In a live ball steroid era. On top of that, think about that.
That's correct.
So let's say it how it is. So think about that. So again, on perception, I don't even know if he ever tested positive. There was no, I don't know, big investigation. And I never saw the guy use PEDs or ever, and I played with him. I knew his family. Yeah. So again, another bona fide Hall of Famer.
That's not even like, from my faraway perspective, like you can't even debate against that. Like those two guys.
There's no debate. It's called ignorance.
Yeah.
It's called control. It's called the human control over the game to teach someone else a lesson. But I truly believe they will be inducted into the Hall of Fame because it's a travesty. That's why they have expanded the time frame involved because, again, they don't know what to do with these players. And it will be a shame. Schilling again.
You think Schilling should be in?
If he goes in, the other two should go in automatically, way before him.
Right.
Now, was Schilling ever involved with the PEDs? Well, I don't know. I doubt it. But why is he not in? When you look at historic, I mean, I believe his numbers. Okay, he had a span of 7 really good years.
Yeah.
And then I guess the rest were, maybe that's why. Maybe the lack of consistency over a stretch of time. Maybe.
It said he was at 60%. He needs to be at 75% of ballots. So he was the top.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, he's getting closer. 10th year on the ballot, Larry Walker. You got to take on him?
I've seen that man hit a couple balls 600 feet. Talk about one of the most left-handed premier hitters. This guy had freaky power. Now,
I don't know if the numbers are strong. Although batting average is great, 313.
Well, I think they're dogging him because he played in Colorado a lot of years. Yeah. And I don't know why they hold that against you.
That's not fair either.
It's not. Okay, here's why. I played with the Oakland A's for 5 or 6, 7 years where the ball never carried there before they restructured the whole thing. And they didn't care about that. They didn't add 10 home runs for me each year. So
where would you primarily hit your home runs to?
Left center, left.
And how far was that in that park? It was far.
It's standard, but the ball at night went nowhere. Because biggest foul territory, ball went nowhere. It was rated the worst hitting ballpark when I was there.
Right.
So they didn't take that into consideration. Okay, we're going to give Jose an extra 10 home runs, extra 20 points in the batting average, biggest foul territory. We're going to give him.
Yeah,
so, like that's stupid.
That'd be like then you'd penalize everybody for Yankee Stadium's right field being so short.
You can't.
Like
again,
you know what I mean? You'd have to take those away, sort of.
Again, the human factor comes into play. It should not come into play. Poor guy probably didn't have a choice that he played there.
No.
And you know, so why penalize him for it?
All he did was put up numbers.
All he did was do what he was paid to do.
What do you feel about Manny Ramirez?
Wow,
Manny,
one of the most
Manny baseball.
Yeah, well, obviously he used PEDs. That's an obvious, but one of the
best
right-hand power hitters I've ever seen. He's got over 600 home runs. Talk about a clutch hitter, high batting average, RBIs. Very quiet guy, very misunderstood individual.
Yeah.
And not one of the best. I think a knock on him is he was a lousy outfielder.
Yeah.
But then again, you know what? I was a lousy outfielder. I admit it. I was a little bit better than Manny, but I wasn't that much better than Manny. Yeah. So I think the knock on him is that. But let me tell you, talk about power. talk about a clutch hitter. Talk about high average.
Yeah.
Wow. An incredible. He should be in the Hall of Fame, too.
Career average 312.
Are you kidding me? And with 600 home runs?
555.
555? You have got to be kidding me.
Yeah,
That's unbelievable.
yeah.
How
Why
can
do
he
you
not-
think why do you think he was misunderstood?
I think he was too quiet. I think he never spoke out. I think he was very aloof out in the outfield. He almost looked like he didn't care to play.
Yeah, he did.
But that's not the point. The point is, if he didn't care to play, he wouldn't hit as well as he does. He was just limited when it came to the outfielding role. He didn't have the. He wasn't a good outfielder.
No, he wasn't.
Point blank.
Yeah.
You know, you would have put him in another position, maybe first or DH. Maybe he would have been a better player. But dude, come on.
He didn't
He was trying. He was just lousy.
Like,
he was trying the best he could.
I feel like the speed he would like jog out to play
You know,
is like the speed he would like kind of go after the balls too.
I think Manny was like
you know what I mean?
Manny was like me. I think I was scared to play outfield because I was drafted as a third baseman. I hated playing outfield. I think Manny just was scared to play outfield. I don't think he wanted any part of that.
He didn't
ball.
want it. Yeah.
And he just did the best he could.
But he's on his fourth year. I mean, why wouldn't he just be in already?
Because of the
Steroids.
PEDs. He obviously used steroids. And
Yeah, he did.
They probably tested positive.
He got busted.
Yeah, so he got busted. So, you know,
Yeah, I mean, you know, and the other thing with baseball too, with this steroid, it's like you guys got to make up your mind. You can't have both ways, right? You can't get mad and then also take credit for bringing the game back and making like,
well,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
I agree. But here's the thing. This is what makes me so mad about baseball. This is why the game is there are so many hypocrites in the game of baseball, in the voting system, in the Hall of Fame, the beat writers, whatever you want to call them.
Right.
Because I say this, and I've always said this. There are players that use PEDs that have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. 100%, no if buts about it. I injected them, period. And they can't say shit about it. The other issue is, if you're going to let some in, let them all in.
I totally agree.
Why just cherry pick?
Right.
Why just pick who you think was a nice guy, or who deserves it, or who you want to see?
Yeah, who took you to Prime Steakhouse?
Are you or who did that private interview for you? Are you kidding me?
Right.
Again, that's the human factor ruining the game. The hypocrisy of the game.
Yeah.
These individuals, they're destroying the game. If you pop their criteria, their stats in a computer, spits it out.
That's
Hall
it.
of Fame or not. The computer doesn't care if you are a great guy. He doesn't care if you use PEDs. You know, it's strictly about numbers. That's why, for me, get rid of these beat writers or have some writers that understand the PED era. And for God's sake, people, PEDs don't make you an athlete. They don't give you hand-eye coordination, athletic ability. That's not the way it works. If they did, all the bodybuilders in the world would be playing baseball. So get off of that. And you idiots out there that think, oh, if I would have used PEDs, I would have become a Major League Baseball player. Bullshit, because you couldn't hit a fastball over 80 miles an hour. So get off of it.
What about a guy who was in the major leagues and hit 240? And
I hit 240. And I was using PD shit.
what about that guy?
So what the hell?
What about some unknown guy who, you know, played 5 years, hit 230? If he did PEDs, how different would his career have been?
Well, here's the thing. I don't know if
you know what I mean.
Well,
I want that comparison, like some no-name guy, John Stevens, who right now is in Tucson and had a little stint in the show. What would his career have been?
I would say this, in all seriousness, is that when I played, if you were not using PEDs, you were the minority.
Right.
So I wouldn't know who that guy was.
Right.
To be honest with you.
Right.
I mean, if you weren't back then, it wasn't illegal. It wasn't against the game. Most of the people were doing it, and it would become greater and completely become rampant to 100% usage.
Right.
If I would have said something, written that book. But believe me, if you were not using PEDs back then, you were definitely the minority.
Right. Okay.
So it was an even playing field, people.
Yeah. Okay. So what if Hank Aaron used PEDs? What kind
know.
of numbers would he?
You know, it's funny because there's no way of finding out what PEDs will do to each and in every individual.
Because the body will react differently.
Everybody's different. Right. Everybody reacts differently. Everybody's athletic ability is different. Everybody assimilates information differently. So there's no scale. There's no scale to
Jose,
say.
Let's cut to the chase. If I did PEDs, how much would I bench? Let's answer that. That's what we need to know.
30 pounds.
500 pounds, he said, for the record. Did we all get that? 500 pounds. Easy. Close grip. Okay.
You still wouldn't hit a baseball.
Moving on.
You might bench more, but you won't become an athlete.
You can take me to the batting cage. You can teach me how to.
And dude, I'm 55. I only have maybe 50 years to live. In 50 years, I couldn't get you a good swing.
Teach me how to swing. Oh, come on now. Don't underestimate. Played up until freshman year of high school. Okay, listen, it's not about me. This one I wanted to ask you about. Well, there's a couple good ones on here. Gary Sheffield.
Definitely used PEDs. Has incredible numbers, over 500 home runs, I'm pretty sure.
He should be in. 509.
He should be in. I mean, when you're talking about
why wouldn't these guys be in? Gary Sheffield was a great player.
Again, the human factor.
That's ridiculous.
Think about how many players, 450, 500 home runs, hit 280, and compared to 30, 40 years ago. As a matter of fact, if you look in the Hall of Fame, if we do a little bit of due diligence, there's some players that stats don't even qualify to be in the Hall of Fame compared to the players today who are not in the Hall of Fame. They're not even close. Again, the human factor should be eliminated from the Hall of Fame.
Sammy Sosa, 609 home runs.
Can you imagine? This guy
Sammy
is a god. This man hit 60-plus home runs 3 years in a row.
Yeah, that's...
Think about what I just said. Talk about consistency. I would have been happy just hitting 50 home runs once. This man hit 60 3 times in a row. How does that happen?
Yeah.
That's like godlike.
He's got to be in.
Got to be. Rafael Palmeiro.
Yep.
One of the very few players, I think there's 5 in existence, 3,000 base hits, 500 home runs. I know why he's in the Hall of Fame. I don't know how to tell you. I've never used PEDs in front of Congress. Rafi, that fucked you up. Okay? Should have never said that. You would have gotten away with it. He belongs in the Hall of Fame.
We're doing Monday morning quarterback advice.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
All right. This one's interesting to me. Jason Giambi's on the ballot.
Well, obviously he used PEDs.
He did. Let's look at his numbers here.
I don't know. I think he's borderline.
He's borderline. Batting average 277, 440 home runs, 1,400 RBIs.
Shit, I got him beat. He's borderline. His stats don't even match mine.
Should you be in the Hall of Fame?
No. And I've answered this question several times. I should not be in the Hall of Fame for specific reasons. My stats don't mandate it. I did hit enough of home runs. I was injured 2 years of my entire career. I just wasn't consistent enough. So I'm being honest. Do my stats, if you put my stats in a computer, considering the 20 years or 30 years of that PED span, would it qualify? I would say a computer would say no.
You say no?
Absolutely. No.
I mean, at least you're honest.
Yeah.
Let me hit a couple more here. Who else is on here? Some pitchers. Andy Pettitte.
And he's borderline too, I think. And he's one of those pitchers that was, he had some great years and he was inconsistent.
Yeah.
So I think that hurts your consistency level. I mean, you can't have 3 great years and the rest consistent and think you're a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame. That's not the way it works.
That's not,
So, but.
And that's a point of, right, like, you would think of, like, Yankees and playing on all these, to your point.
Now that's going to help him.
You get that boost. You get that boost of being on winning teams. You get the
notoriety, winning team. He was great in the playoffs in the World Series when he pitched. So, but that shouldn't help you beyond another player if you're both on the fence, right?
Right.
Again, computer numbers.
Who? Well, we don't. I mean, do you want to like? Do you know guys? You know guys for sure that are in the Hall that use PEDs.
Absolutely. I mean, let's talk about the last.
And are they sitting there nervous, or they're just like
nervous? They're in the goddamn Hall of Fame. They're being protected by Major League Baseball. Nervous?
So
They're in.
They're in. They're in the room. They're in the cigar lounge.
Well, if I were them,
they're covered.
If I were them, I'd be thinking, how the fuck did I get into the Hall of Fame?
That's what,
Number one, and is somebody eventually going to tell on me? And they're probably thinking, I hope Jose Canseco shuts up. That's exactly
they go,
what you guys are saying right now.
One of
I
them-
know what's going on.
one of them goes, I really hope Canseco doesn't start a podcast or something stupid like that.
Yeah. I hope he doesn't start a podcast called No Way, Jose. They're writing us saying, no way, Jose. Don't say shit. No way, Jose. Look, man, they can't revoke your Hall of Fame. You're already fucking in.
Why can't they?
know? But why? Because all of a sudden they're going to say,
That would turn it upside down.
there's no way.
Threw you out.
For these writers, these beat writers to admit they made a mistake? Holy Jesus, are you kidding me? That's an impossibility. There's no way. So imagine right now these guys are thinking, what bothers me is that these guys are sitting there thinking, man, should I say something? Should I really try to help out these other players that aren't in the Hall of Fame? The numbers are greater than mine, that belong in the Hall of Fame, that use PEDs. I use PEDs too, but I snuck by. Should we somehow get together and try to get these guys in?
Yeah,
That's what I would do.
absolutely.
Help these guys go up to bat for them and try to get them into the Hall of Fame.
Here's some of the recent year people that got in. Vlad Guerrero,
See, I don't know much about him.
Jim Thome.
Nicest guy in the world, but let me tell you, he's suspect. That man's too strong.
Strong.
Yeah.
Ken Griffey Jr., Mike Piazza.
Automatic steroid user.
Uh-huh.
Nothing much about it.
Yeah. Tony La Russa, Maddox,
Tony La
Frank
Russa, no.
Thomas.
I know Frank. Frank's just
He's a big guy.
Frank's just a big old dude. But here's
He's
the thing.
always been naturally it's like
He's
if you look
big.
at some of the PG, there would be always like the before and after photos of when they're 25.
He was always big.
He was
big before, big after, and getting bigger today. So Frank's just a big old dude.
Yeah, selling the GNC.
He's like 300 pounds right now, Frank. I see you trying to work out. Oh no, he's selling. He's got his commercial for the
testosterone boosters.
Testosterone booster, really?
Like GNC, like having troubles with the ladies, and then
by
there's
the way, Frank, those commercials are awful, dude. They're fucking awful.
Some guy like spots him at the gym, and shames her
Hey
husband.
Frank,
like,
tell me,
hey,
how you
Frank.
looking so young?
Yeah.
Well, when we turn after 40 or 50, our testosterone level drops, and you know what? We need a boost.
Yeah. Hey Frank,
and your wife will like it too.
yeah. Hey Frank, I'm tired of dating this loser. What's your secret?
Yeah.
The poor schmo has to just sit there like off to the side.
My secret is I'm black, and I got this. That's my secret.
back to
Truth
that.
hurts, motherfucker.
We covered that in our last one. I remember
Yeah.
that. Tony Gwynn, classic.
Yeah.
Ripken, and some of these guys, and it goes on and on. I mean, but right, there's plenty of examples. Wade Boggs.
Listen,
Was Wade Boggs legendary drinker?
I've heard so many stories
You ever
about
cross
him.
paths with him?
Yes,
The amount of beers he could drink?
We've talked, and it's true. This man, from what I understand, from what he told me, he drank like from one flight to another one, 36 beers. How are you not dead? How
That's
are you
pretty
not? Are you a zombie just walking around like? Wait, you're the man.
That's pretty good.
That's incredible.
Now I'm gonna switch sports randomly, but because there's halls of fame for everything. But a guy like Joe Paterno, like a coach who is legendary until he's not legendary. He's legendary until the Sandusky scandal comes out and he's molesting, and it's all under his watch. And it's like, how do you not know? Like, what do you do with that? You take him out. You rip down the statue. Like what? How do you?
Fame is fickle, and let me tell you, when you're on top, only one way, down.
That's right.
Fans build you up. They want you up there. At some cases, because they don't have a choice.
Right.
But at some points, when you make a mistake, they're going to pull you down really fast.
What's your take on Paterno? You honestly believe he didn't know anything about it, or you think he knew?
It's impossible to tell.
I know.
I mean, you don't want to condemn the man, and you don't want to say, okay, he's not guilty of anything.
Right. You can't. So you can't be adamant on either side.
Yeah.
Because we don't really know. But
here's the thing: even if you suspect, what are you going to do?
yeah,
Because there is this unwritten code, like in baseball, right? There's a code when you walk in that says, what you see here, what you do here, must stay here.
right.
Does that mean if you walk into the clubhouse and one of your players is raping an underage girl, you just turn around and don't say shit? That's fucking bullshit.
You can't do that.
That's-
Yeah. You got to stand up.
So again, his main thing as a coach is to protect his players.
Right.
Now, to what extent do you protect the player?
Right.
That's what he has
the player,
to do.
the coach, whatever. Exactly.
Player, the coach. So what do you do?
I have such a hard time believing that he obviously knew something was something. Some people were coming up to him like, oh, we got some weird things. The only way he's protected is if like they wouldn't even tell him anything, but then it's on everybody else who knew what was really happening to break it out and be like, he's got to go. Like you can't, I mean, in what world could you be like, yeah, but he's really good with the O-lineman? Like, it's like, dude, no.
Maybe he's turning a blind eye. Maybe he doesn't want a part of it.
I mean,
he doesn't want to deal with it.
It's ridiculous.
Maybe that old player code comes into play.
Oh, man.
Who the hell knows?
Whatever, like take away wins or whatever, but that's not, oh, man, that's nasty.
That's scary.
That's nasty.
So, but, it's kind of the saying between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
Either way is hard.
Yeah. I mean, but
So what do you do? Yeah.
I say you kick him out. It's over.
Maybe.
All right, so we're gonna have to come up with your computer analytics system. Actually, we don't have to come up with it, not till they pay you for it. But I'm with you. The computer decides. You get all these strip their badges. These writers are gonna be pissed.
I mean,
these writers are gonna be pissed at you.
Put a perfect example. The game is becoming better. Why? Because you're taking out the human factor little by little, meaning umpiring. Right. Now you get the view, the play.
That's right.
Now you get that box at home plate with a fan see if it's a strike or not.
Yeah.
Now the umpires union is
reviewing calls at first base.
Reviewing calls and becoming more stricter with their umpires. And before, umpires had job security till they died. Yeah. They can be fat, out of shape, blonde, blind, autistic, fucking retarded, missing 2 eyes and no arms, and they still had a fucking job.
They had a job.
How's that possible? Yeah. Now it's completely different. So to me, it's great because when you take the human factor out, little by little they are. Now they're talking about the electronic strike zone in the minor leagues.
Oh,
which I love that.
That's cool.
Again, because in the past, and I know it, umpires were on the take. Umpires can control the outcome of a game. Umpires can miss a call.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if guys were on the take, that means
in every sport. This is not just baseball. Where there's big money, where there's billions of dollars,
there has to be.
There has to be.
There has to be.
It's the human factor. There has to be.
And in every sport, they've gotten away with it. Some guys have gotten away with it for sure.
A lot more than being caught. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, the basketball guy,
and that was kind of obvious.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
That was like, are you serious? Really? You think we're that
dumb? The first
dumb?
guy to call traveling in the NBA like at critical times.
You think we're that blind?
I mean, that's crazy. That was his story was crazy.
Yeah.
But right at every level, they're getting away. Some people are doing it and getting away with it. You think there's going to be more of it with the spread of gambling and legalization of gambling? Because everyone's always been gambling anyways.
Yeah.
Do you think there'll be more of it, or it's going to stay the same at once?
I think the way you have to fight it, like I said, is in certain sports, if you can eliminate the human factor. That's it. And become more robotic and mechanical about the calls. That's how you can reviewing plays.
Yeah.
That's a great way of doing it.
Right.
That's the only
because that's the only control influence they have.
Yeah. There's still going to be a percentage of human factor behind every sport, but let's not give them 100% control of the outcome. Let's take some back.
Yeah.
That's all.
You think the baseballs were juiced this year?
It's funny because all you really have to do to a baseball is tighten the baseball a little bit, and it carries 10% more.
Really?
If you wanted to carry 20% more, make the rubber core a little bit bigger. So now Major League Baseball, I think they own the factory that makes the baseballs. Right. So they could do whatever they want. This year, we had the home run tallies to go down 40%. Yeah, let's not even put a core in it.
I can see the executives.
They're
like, why were there, so many more home runs? Were there more home runs? I didn't.
Yeah, we didn't have no idea. Even though we control the manufacture of the baseball, we dictate how it's made.
Report.
Are you kidding me?
They own the factory.
Yeah.
They immediately send an email like, okay, stop with the tighter core.
Yeah.
Let's hold off on that.
Yeah. All-star game. Let's make the core really big and the lead really tight so it goes 500 feet.
It's so funny what people will admit or not admit. It's like, come on. It doesn't just all of a sudden happen that dramatically. Isn't it funny?
As long as it's even for everyone across the board.
That's right.
It's not everyone has to hit the same baseball.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
Pitchers will benefit from a live ball era. I mean, from a dead ball era. Then they don't benefit from a live ball era. Then pitchers didn't benefit from a PD era. But then again, pitchers were on PDs. This is the conversation that's endless. But I still say
It's circular.
Hall of Fame voting, computer.
Yeah, Hall of Fame voting computer.
That makes everything that much more simple.
Right. And then if you want to take by era and put some buffers up or down, go for it.
You can. If you want to put a criteria in a computer of percentages and say this era we're going to increment stats or decrease stats by 5 to 8%. But that's not going to happen either. Because I think, you know what, baseball has evolved. Baseball's still evolving. Baseball has gone through different eras. I mean, you've had the high mound, the flat mound, the ball travels, ball doesn't travel. PED era. You had the marijuana, cocaine era. You had the amphetamine era.
Right.
What's next?
Well,
Android. They're going to create an Android. They're going to make him a baseball player. The Android era. Who the hell knows? Hey, you never know.
Amphetamines.
Is Trout an Android?
Yeah.
Is Mike Trout an Android?
We might be onto something.
I don't know.
He
Is
might
he
be
part machine?
They've done like 7 Terminator movies by now, so it's possible.
He could be. He's too fucking good.
Here's first of all, the amphetamine thing, that's been going on. Like any kind of like caffeine upper thing has been happening a long time.
Okay, so
that's been happening a long time.
Performance enhancing drug is a cocaine,
right?
An amphetamine. If you take that before a game to boost your alertness, isn't that cheating?
Isn't that an enhancement?
Absolutely.
Right.
It's an enhancement that's time related. That means
the best part,
but that's
cheating
the same way.
Right.
It's an enhancement.
Right. And the best part was when cocaine was medicine, when they thought it was like, they didn't know the science and they were like feeling down and they're like, oh, little cocaine. Like doctors were giving cocaine. Like, they didn't know, like
when I use, Viagra, it's an enhancement. It's a temporary thing, but it's an enhancement.
That's right. It's an enhancement.
So the hell.
Right. Yeah, right. You see at some point an actual robot playing in Major League Baseball?
Absolutely.
As a player?
As a player.
Get
it's
out
just
of here.
a matter of time. An Android?
No, that's not possible.
Absolutely.
How?
It's evolution.
But in a real game, you can have them on your team.
You won't even know.
Of course you'll know.
Where do you think we're going to be 200 years from now? Don't fool yourself.
But you wouldn't allow, you would have an all-robot.
They have sex dolls that look so real right now
Don't point to me when you say that.
That I'm going to give you one for Christmas. They have sex dolls that you're going to want to leave your wife.
I'll open it up in front of my wife. She'll love it. Hey, look what Jose got. Yeah. So if there's robot players,
for both of you.
If there's robot players, then robots make it in the Hall of Fame.
Oh boy, now that's a good
You want to go down the wormhole?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think eventually when they find out that it's an android, not really a robot, an android is a mix of human and
a droid.
Then they're going to go, no, it's a droid.
Yeah.
Then they're going to go, no.
Oh, I see. So
but
that's where they draw
will they
the
ever
line.
know? Will they ever find out? I don't know. Maybe some guy hits him in the head and his head dents.
Yeah.
And you see a wire hanging out.
Maybe you're an android. Jesus Christ. All right, here's my final question. Your career stats: batting average 266, home runs
my weight. I batted my weight. Almost.
I swear. Batting average 266, home runs 462, runs batted in 1407. What would these numbers have had to have been for you to be in the Hall?
Wow. I think the batting average 290 and over.
290, okay.
Home runs minimal. I think the criteria would be 500. Minimal. You got to start there.
Okay.
RBIs. What are they? 14, 15?
1407.
Wow. Since I missed 2 years, 14. I would say close to 1,800. Maybe,
1,800.
Maybe more. Maybe 2,000.
But
I would have had to play over 20 years.
Oh, okay.
I only really played 15 because of my injuries.
Right.
So now I would have to play 21, 22 years. And if I would have played that without my injuries, if you do my home runs per at bat today, it would have been close to almost 700 home runs.
700.
Yeah.
And that would have been it.
Yeah.
And then he's in the Hall.
Yeah.
That's it. You heard it here. You heard it here first. And we now know the numbers it would take for you to be in the Hall, and we've also opened a debate on whether or not you're just a machine or an android or something. We'll have to cut them open next episode. That's it. That was the most in-depth analysis of the Hall of Fame ever on the planet.
For sure.
That was good. See you next time. NoWay Jose. We're out.
Peace.
Hit that subscribe
Android.
button.
He's in the Android right there.
Hit the subscribe, like, follow, all that's it. Share it, whatever the kids do. All right, we're out.
Sweet.